Hello everyone, I'm Yushan Pan from Norwegian University of Science and Technology. My topic for today is Reflexivity of account, professional version, and computer-supported cooperative work, working in the maritime domain. In my work, I will talk about CSCW researchers and when they do implementation and design. CSCW researchers have plenty to say about design through test. However, the relationship between implementation and design are often misunderstood by engineering project system developers who design collaborative systems, among others. This problem is not new. How to utilize CSCW insight effectively and correctly in engineering project has long been a concern in CSCW community. And in most cases, the outstanding techniques has been developed to help designers determine what to design and to give the concrete shape to the computing system, such as requirement specification for software and talk work, system model development, centralizing studies, and scenario-based design, markups, prototypes, evaluation, assumption testing, and case study design. These techniques translate optical CSCW insight into forms and instruments that designers can use in specific contexts. However, in communities working in the field outside general informatics field and its applications fields, designers may face obstacles to acting their findings. For example, a few decades ago, distributed connection was introduced to ship navigation and human-computer interaction fields. However, change has been slow in practice, and designers are rarely brought into development system. They are most often brought into the study technology already in widespread use, which make it difficult to effect change. At the same time, system developers in the maritime domain still struggling with the cooperative systems rather than consulting KI and CSCW insight. System developers still primarily rely on their own professional knowledge and skills. This often leads to the final design that do not sufficiently reflect the concern of the users. Here you can see an example that when people designing the remote control for the unmanned ships, and this design is following most principles of engineering design with less cooperative with the CSCW insights before I step in. Like other issues in the CSCW community faces, the failure to apply CSCW insights is also common in the maritime technology. The value of CSCW insights in engineering practice is often dismissed due to misinformed social thinking and simplification of the impact of technology on how groups work together. This is largely because CSCW researchers has to improve the work of actors in and through their member groups without making their work visible. The failure is due to the lack of the reconciliation between accounts across member groups, because engineering practice of different member groups vary in addition to differ from practice of the designers. Designers dismiss the account of the many of the users. The result is that maritime technologies do not support cooperative work among the operators on board. The current design of human-ship interaction still following the principles of the engineering design, including connective economics and human factors. Operators or experimental subjects used for verifying whether the design is successful. The people exercising the outcome of experiments, including system developers, Navy architects, and other aforementioned engineers, largely ignore the social aspect of human-ship interaction. My background is mixed with CSCW and software engineering. I wonder how I can contribute to the design of maritime technology by sharing a common interest with system development in the maritime domain. How do I reduce the distance between CSCW research and the practice in engineering project? And the answer lies in shifting the focus from machine to human intelligence and designing cooperative systems to support maritime operations. However, this entails obtaining access to the maritime domain. There are very few people can access to address to how to conduct the CSCW research in such contexts. In one expectation, scholars try to extend collaborative computing via design approach to shape the design process, aiming to help users articulate their requirements with other specificists in system design in maritime domain. If I revisit the relationship between ethnography and design, their applications and the collaborative intervention efforts among the stakeholders of the maritime engineering project, I believe I can contribute to the CSCW community. Thus, the research question is as follows. I use two concepts, reflexivity of account and the professional versions to answer the research questions. Here, the term professional versions does not refer to generating a guide for people with backgrounds similar to mine to engage with engineering project. In line with European fieldwork tradition, I am either to create the reflexive universal technique nor to develop the semantic science to link CSCW insight and technical languages as stepwise guidance. Rather, I hope that reflexivity of the account and the professional version will serve as the complementary tools to work with different member groups to make the visible maritime work visible. The object of the utilizing the two concepts is applied to the member group's ordinary activity, member groups of the work they are engaged in, and the members' natural understanding of the work they are engaged in, so that other members can see what is going on and coordinate their actions. I elaborate on the distinction mechanism and interactions among the different members groups. Those mechanisms are intersubjects, shared by operators, system developers, educators, and the policymakers, and the shipowners. So I incorporate observation interview as my method, and with the various sightings with the frame which tightly around the research questions I want to answer. The assembled practical actions and reasonings of members for in the maritime operations, for which I used an intervention approach, explicit the account of the members' ability to describe this design space in and through their members. I suggested that members will be able to say their work and make their own decisions and actions appropriately. Thus, a model operandi for applying my findings to specific consequences in engineering discipline, making my work learnable as the case study. Unlike research that point towards technical management and organizational context of software work, my work aids an analytical account to address the research and practice gap by applying the whole life cycle management design, development and use and technology and management to bridge the social and the technical worlds. Such a bridge itself is the design space or an operational form. On one hand, it describes how human activities are computerized. On the other, it describes how computer artifacts are embodied in social context. Through this understanding, researchers can translate real-life computer-supported user activities into rules for system development and work practices for system design. I do not expect to generate my findings and my roles in the maritime domain as explicit knowledge to help others researchers in studying engineering project. My goal is to seek intersubjective knowledge of my fieldwork to trigger the utilization of CSCW insight as the fundamental basis for facilitating system design. So my aim is to shape and reshape system in line with what those actors do in reality. So my work is not one-way approach to understanding the practice. It is a way to address Ackerman's definition, the divide between what we know we must support socially and what we can support technically. However, I add the literature and strengthens the European fieldwork tradition by making CSCW insight more accessible and adding an intellectual focus. It's described the study through the multi-site ethnography mediation to illustrate rectification of disjunction between CSCW insight and engineering domain by describing the entire process of the design requirements to potential use. I add commentary on the general used method and theory in CSCW field. I urge other CSCW researchers to pay special attention to those issues frequently neglected in the CSCW tradition, to including but not limited to the continued value of studies engineering domain, the sheer complexity of the stakeholder positions, and the painful process of justifying the work to the various stakeholders. Such a focus can shed new light on somewhat difficult process of translating CSCW research into engineering projects.